BIP of Bizarre Interest Productions, and I have to hang out with someone, and there's only 3 days left until Women's History Month is done, and I still have 8 genuine videos I need to finish. Thanks for getting screwed over by those 2 days, so I apologize even if things seem rushed. That being said, I have 3 Yu-Gi-Oh videos I need to script in less than 3 hours, so I gotta make this fast, but we're doing all of this back to back. First up, do the best friends you ruin the Yu-Gi-Oh girls? No, the best friends are the scapegoats. So out of the best friends, there's about 4 best friends that are accused of robbing screen time from the female lead's out-of-date Yu-Gi-Oh series. And while it is something to make note of, the problem with Yu-Gi-Oh women has almost nothing to do with the best friends. The lead Yu-Gi-Oh girls have had much more problems. An interesting role and plot in the first arc, but to get undermined by the second half. Brainwashed, sacrificed, don't even get a character arc or plot line for a while. Have other characters do their roles for them, or get enough wins. Well, not enough wins in that case to support the character development. The best friends get more to do is tied to how it took until Gallop switching to Bridge to get more consistently well-written female characters. But when it comes down to why Yu-Gi-Oh! Series needs a well-balanced cast, let's go through each series to show why the best friends aren't to blame. Joey and Teia's transition to the card game is proof of Takahashi's issues using the card game to flesh out past characters. With Teia, she and Yugi started off as friends with all the Shadow Game incidents bringing them to interact, her curiosity with learning about Yugi and Dark Yugi, aka Atem, her ending up with Def T after getting fired for defending herself against a pervert. The problem with Teia is the lack of a story to flesh out her character. She has her dancing, and what Takahashi could have done was have it be a subplot where during Battle City, she was making progress with her dancing, especially since in the anime, Johnny Steps had given up on dancing while she didn't despite her rejections, so at the end of the series we could have heard that she has her big break. I'm going to talk about Yu-Gi-Oh! Using characters who don't do much well when I talk about Tori and Zexal, because one problem with the final arc of Duel Monsters is that the Egypt lore took up so much of the runtime the main characters didn't get a chance to do all that much. Looking at Joey, the reason why he managed to avoid the transition trap compared to Teia was because he started out as Yugi's bully, turning into a friend after they saved each other from Ushio's bullying. It also helped he had a few chapters confronting his gang life past and trying to earn money for his sister, with the card game overtaking the story, allowing him to use the card game to become an underdog in the new changes to the status quo. The anime tried to help this too, with Joey and Teia having more to do in the filler arc since they do get more duels, but since Teia doesn't get a character arc through it, she's kind of undermined just like Tristan. If they use her dancing as a plotline throughout the anime and manga to get them out of tough situations more, and slowly reveal her efforts paid off at the end, I think that could have given her the subtle character arc she needed. Which is funny because GX ended up with another problem all entirely. So let's talk about Alexis' mishandled plot, Cyrus not having much to do in the plot, and Jesse's plot. So Cyrus didn't screw over Alexis, both of them got screwed off by the writers, but while I say the best friends are the scapegoats are because Cyrus and Alexis both have opposing problems. Cyrus's character arc is about him being inferior to his brother Zane and needing the encouragement of Jaden and the others to get stronger, stands up to prove himself and surpass his brother. The problem is twofold. He gets about 1 or 2 duels at best this season to prove how far he's come as a duelist, like with the Paradox brothers, Missy, and then Makoto. But then his character arc has nothing to do with the ongoing plot. In Season 1, he's the only person in the main cast besides Chumley not to get a Spirit Key to fight the Shadow Riders, while the U-Boys, Rival, Girl, Teacher Antagonist, and Tristan character do. He does next to nothing against the Society of Light, and Zane trounces him. In Season 3, he doesn't even get to duel his best friend to try and save him when Jaden becomes the Supreme King while the exchange students do. And he's defeated by Darkness in Season 4. The plot doesn't let him develop. In contrast, Alexis does get involved with the plot, but it's half-baked and her character doesn't get to grow that much. She has the goal of finding her missing brother and does so, but instead of fighting him, being possessed and trying to free him, the writers had Jaden fight him at first of the Shadow Riders, but because the leader who possessed him has to remain a secret, Alexis has to fight another Shadow Rider that was defeated as a human already, that Jaden fought, to get her brother's memory back. In Season 2, after having a fun duel with her brother, the villains turn her into a cult general, and she gets nothing to do until Jaden saves her, even though Atticus could have saved her in a role reversal to Season 1. In Season 3, she sacrificed with everyone else with Cyrus, Crowler, and the new kids. Then in Season 4, she wants to be a teacher and get Jaden back to normal, having a fun tag duel with him but loses the love war. At least you could say she has an ending. And then there's Jesse and Johan, who kind of replaced them both. He had a fun friendship with Jaden. His Rainbow Dragon plotline helped him move the plot with Jaden. Was the one to check up on him and see if she was okay. He was okay. It makes me wish Jesse and Cyrus were one character, because after Season 2, they go on a training arc and then made their new deck to be consistent. But I don't blame Jesse, because before he showed up, the writers had all the opportunity to keep Cyrus and Alexis involved in the plot and give them development, and only did one for the best friend and the other for the girl. The writers neglected them, which is a shame that Jesse gets the blame for that. So let's talk about how Crow is the ultimate scapegoat for Aki and the twins treatment. Crow gets accused of stealing Aki's screen time the most, but the problem was that 5Ds, after season 2, struggled to use all 6 characters as well consistently. People continue to use Crow as a scapegoat, or rather scare Crow of 5Ds' problems, despite the rumors of him being a dark sign are false, and he always planned to be involved in the show. Yes, I wanted Leo to face Boomer or Gregor, even though you could argue Leo's lack of a signer meant Leo and Crow should probably team up to fight him. And I wanted Aki to play a role in being Godwin too, despite Crow also having a reason to fight him. But I never heard anyone complaining that the final fight of the Darksiders arc really should have had all 6 members involved. Crow could have had Akiza or the twins ride on his bike and duel with them, Yusei and Jack. But looking at seasons 3 and 4, the structure of the World Racing Grand Prix meant that unless there was a sub-arc, the riding trio were the only ones allowed to get any focus. Aki was given her license, but the writers only had her duel once, and then they gave Crow an injury to let her in. An easy fix would have just had Crow, Jack, and Aki have to do it while Yusei was injured until the huge ghost attack, so Akiza could win against Unicorn and complete her turbo dueling arc. But people also blame Chloe for Aki's lack of development and Leo and Luna not doing much when the writers continuously ignored them. Yes, Aki technically had her character arc resolved, but the writers put Divine in prison and didn't even think to have to use that to have him escape, and she works with the twins or Misty to stop him personally, or have her use her powers more consistently. Heck, season 3 and Leo had Leo about to get expelled, but the writers had Yusei challenge her vice principal instead of her. And the ghost incident didn't even have her using dueling skills or having try to master her powers to help out. Leo and Luna are worse treated because until the Aporia fight, the only plotline they, especially Luna, have is against Lester, where Lester shows up and beats them both, but then he does nothing until the end of season 4. They could have easily combined some plotline with using Sly, trying to take down duelists with spirits and psychic powers who could pose a threat, and the twins have to improve while their friends are in a tournament to stop Lester. But again, it's not Crow's fault the writers left them out to dry for 2 whole seasons. Had Aki and the twins gotten more to do before the arc cradle, I don't think Crow would have gotten the blame for her lack of screen time, even though he's really only there as extra conversation, muscle, and the fact that his backstory makes him closer to Yusei and Jack than the others. For Zexel, I think Tori just needed to be used more, and let's look at Akira and Mimi. With Bronk and Shark, the debate about who the best friends are aside, I say Bronk serves more Tristan to Shark's Joey, but I will say Bronk could have done more as the other friend besides Rio, who doesn't need a number to keep up with the power trio. The question becomes, could Tori have done more as a support character? See, I actually don't hate Tori, and if you're going to have a non-duelist, you might as well commit and have them do things and be fair. She does. She was been able to get to herself and even the others out of tough situations, like when she led the Numbers Club to fly the airship to save everyone from the black hole Vector Summon, while encouraging Yuma to break out the angst from the Baryons manipulations and not wavering against Nash, but I think there's another problem. When you look at Akira and Mimi, they don't duel as often or often lose to the other characters, but Akira goes from being only focused on Oi's survivability into a hero willing to stand up to his bosses. And while Mimi went from a well-meaning spy to a mama figure looking out for the kids and even managed to work her way back up from losing her job as president to the vice president, Tori needed a few more moments like that, especially since Yuma, Kaito, and Shark have parallels to the Tron family and the Baryons, and Zexel really doesn't have an opposing non-combatant that can fit with her. The closest is Heartland before he gets mutated, and people have rumored that she was meant to be his daughter. There's also Enya for Astroworld, or how Rio turned with her brother against him. But Rio also needed more duels in general instead of just being there for Shark's suffering. Had they used Tori's normal status more, I think she could have been more appreciated, even if I don't hate her. With Arc 5, Yuzu just needed more extra mechanics, and her counterparts needed to be more. With Yuzu, we can't really look at Gongetsuka except for one thing. Both upgraded their deck with an extra mechanic, and Yuzu being kept away from the others while Gongetsuka rightfully are displaced in the Lancers. The problem with Yuzu was that since she's got so much importance as Yuya, she doesn't even get synchro monsters in the single dimension despite having Yugo as a pseudo-ally. And she doesn't even get to help out her bracelet girls post-synchro. Altering the plot so she and Reba could work together to purify Yuya and channel the bracelet girl's powers to stabilize Reba to use Ark's power to return the guys back to normal like Ray planned and revive her counterparts at the end would be the ideal solution, but that's not the best friend's fault. But the next show, when it comes to Reigns though, Soulburner has been blamed for always lack of development, but that's really far from the truth. Season 1 Soul placing in the long duels had Aoi in a coma for 5 episodes, and the writers set up Spectre being the source of her problems, and she's not even the one who takes him at the end of season 1. They have her lose and have Yusaku eventually beat him twice, and give Akira sacrificing himself not to be used as bait to him instead of letting her sister make that choice, because if Spectre needed a duel where he needed to beat someone and then had to lose to one of the main 3, they just made Aoi the sacrifice when Akira was right there. And in season 2, I really can't blame Soulburner for what happened with Oi because the duel was completely pointless between them, since both of them were on the same side searching for the same target. Heck, until Earth showed up, almost every duel in season 2, save for Playmaker versus Bowman and Soulburner versus the robots, had no point. Like, their opponents, sure, Wendy had more build-up when it came to the Ignis Warfare arc, but that's because the writers didn't bother to use Haru until it was time for him to die, and they both lost to Bowman anyway. But Season 3's problem was that Aoi didn't even get a closure duel. No data clone of Spectre or being manipulated to fight Miu or Akira. Heck, Soulburner was going to fight Revolver, so she could have might as well just been the one to fight Robapi since she replaced it as Yusaku's support. It didn't help Taku and Oe had real life scenes wanting to connect with Yusaku, but she didn't get the major chance until Season 3. But I don't blame Soulburner for not building up Oe enough. That's the writer's fault. So for Sevens, how did Luke and Roman avoid this trope? I think what made Sevens avoid this trope is that the main four were balanced enough that you got Roman, well, you got Yuga and Luke having about 2 to 3 duels in arc, while Gakuto and Roman would get 1 to 2. In fact, one of the most underappreciated aspects of Yu-Gi-Oh's character archetypes is that this is the first time they actively used the best friend and girl dynamic consistently, since Luke took a while to forgive Roman for betraying them in arc 1, and Roman constantly being forced to try to prove herself to him, including the fact that when she lost her memories, he was the one who went for her to go get it back, and because of it, she was able to go and face her idol head-to-head on to show how much she's grown over the course of the series. Both of them had their own character journeys from the start, but because they overlap so much with their clashing personalities, ironically, it ended up helping both of them to develop a lot more, which is something I think some of the past series should have actually learned from. Alright, time for Go Rush. Did Yuhi really ruin Yuamu? Now, from what I've heard about Go Rush, from everything I caught up because I'm near the end of Season 2, I've seen people accuse Yuhi of doing this to Yuamu, and while I haven't caught up with Season 3 yet, I feel like what people ignore is that Yui has had this character arc in the beginning of wanting to catch up to his sister in Udius, while Yuumu's character arc has been trying to find a purpose in life that she's willing to fight for like the others. She's been able to get that between Seasons 2 ending and Season 3, but the siblings end up clashing because of what that dream means for some of their allies and friends. And most of Season 1 basically has him feeling inferior to her sister. From what I've seen with Season 3, Yuhi's actions are built out of guilt, while Yuamu's completely accepting her actions, with both of them wanting to stop what they think is their sibling getting in the way, both of them trying to take on the soul persona in order to protect the other. It's really fascinating, even if I need to watch more in order to make a full verdict on it, but I don't think Yuhi is really outshining Yuamu in terms of writing. So do the best friends really ruin the lead girls? No. However, Yu-Gi-Oh! Is a series based on the chemistry between the main characters, so if they don't have anything to do with the plot, it ultimately weakens the story because you need all the characters being a part of that connecting factor that makes Yu-Gi-Oh! What it's about. People connected to games and ultimately coming out of it as better people. It's why 5D's Dark Signers, Sevens, Go Rush's trio, and even the core original cast are so iconic because they actually care about one another and develop throughout the story. It's just that half the Yu-Gi-Oh! Series need to start remembering that the girl and the other friend need the same amount of character growth and plot usage, and that's just something the girls are unfortunately restricted to. Some of the guys were also neglected as well, and a good Yu-Gi-Oh! Series must be able to have that character balance when it comes to avoiding neglecting anyone in the main cast. Otherwise, people are going to complain, and sometimes characters don't feel as fleshed out as they could have been.